Hello and welcome to the Reject Pile with me, Luke Edwards. This is the fourth episode of our run of episodes in summer 2026. I had a family sitcom set on a deserted island, a post-apocalyptic comedy sketch in an Olympic commentary booth, and a character study of a needy jester in a medieval court. But today we feature a sketch submitted by Mike Cooper that imagines a yacht club's annual quiz. This is technically Mike's second appearance on the Reject Pile after his submission to our earlier episode on Breaking the News Rejects, which is an episode I highly recommend if you're interested in writing for that show. We were joined by Ellie Hayward and Dan Swerit, who run a course on helping writers get the credit on that show. You can find that episode in your podcast feed or on the Substack or on YouTube. I'm planning a future episode with Dan, this time focused on BBC Radio 4's The Skewer. Dan also runs a course helping writers with that show. He's a very seasoned contributor to it in his own right. So if you've had any unsuccessful submissions to The Skewer that you'd like us to feature on this show, please send them to rejectpilepod@gmail.com. Before moving on, I just want to give a shout out to another previous guest of ours, James Doherty, for his credit on last week's episode of Breaking the News. Well done, James. Now, in the last week, we've seen England knocked out of the 2026 World Cup in the semi-finals to Argentina. So it felt fitting for me to mention a series of essays that I wrote on my Substack 2 years ago. It's called Why I'm No Longer Following Football, and it's a very open and honest account of my love-hate relationship with sport, which started age 10 at Euro 96 and has now seen me clock up my very own 30 years of hurt. You can find it on my Substack, lredwards.substack.com, and I'll also put a link in the description of this episode. If you do check it out, I'd love to hear your feedback on it, and of course, I'd encourage you to share it along with sharing this podcast. Now to this episode's guest. Mike is an award-winning comedy writer who's had a modicum of success on radio over the years, with sketches and jokes appearing on BBC Radio 4, 4 Extra, BBC Radio Scotland, and Union Jack Radio. He also finally got the illustrious TV credit he was so badly desiring when one of his gags appeared on a televised episode of Breaking the News. Mike occasionally writes in a 3-man team, and scripts they've written have received extremely good feedback from industry professionals. He's also written a number of his own TV and film scripts, which he tells us are in various stages of development. You can find Mike on Blue Sky at mikecooperrp.bsky.social, or if you want to see his yearly holiday pics, on Instagram at mikecooperrp. Footnote: the award that Mike won was Clubman of the Year, France Villa, Under-13s, 1988. Mike's sketch is called Port's Win Prizes, and it was performed by Jonathan Amphlett, Alexis Coward, Chris Gladwin, Amy Tobin, Annabelle Turner-Wheeler, and yours truly, with sound effects supplied by Rob Stevenson. You'll be back with me, Mike, and the Reject Pile script editor, Phil Stewart, after the sketch. During the discussion, Mike references a word association website that he uses, and he followed up to let me know that it's called relatedwords.io. I'll include a link in the description. Now, to Port's Win Prizes. Here it comes.
Right, sea lovers, it's time for the Yacht Club's annual quiz, which this year we have had the rather excellent title suggestion of Port's Win Prizes. Now, the rules are as simple as always. Once you've heard the question, you must say your name, followed by your answer. Everyone got that?
Marcus, roger that.
Jonathan, yes, roger.
Me.
You can't say me, Roger. You have to actually say Roger when you understand. Roger?
Roger. Sorry, just a bit of fun. Over.
Fine, okay. Question 1. Complete the line to this ABBA song. So when you're near me, darling, can't you hear me?
Jonathan, SOS.
Correct. Question 2. Which?
This is the Coast Guard, Jonathan, broadcasting SOS. Request your position, nature of distress, and number of persons on board. Over.
This is Jonathan. I'm not actually in any distress. I was just answering a quiz question. Over.
Say again, Jonathan.
We're not in any distress. Was quoting an ABBA song. Over.
Making a false distress call is a criminal offence, punishable by restitution and possible imprisonment. Over.
Yes, understood. But I was merely answering a quiz question. Sorry. Over.
Okay, we'll let it go this time, but please be more careful in future. Coast Guard, over and out.
Well, that was all rather exciting, wasn't it? Question 2. Which Beatles album features the tracks Ticket to Ride and yesterday.
Marcus, help.
Correct. Question 3. Crowning the...
This is the Coast Guard, Marcus. Broadcasting for help. Request your position, nature of distress, and number of persons on board. Over.
This is Marcus. I'm also answering a quiz question. Over.
Can you repeat, please, Marcus? Over.
Yeah, we don't actually require help. It's the answer to a quiz question. Over.
May I remind you that making false distress calls is a criminal offence, punishable by fine, restitution, and possible imprisonment. Over.
Yes, understood. But once again, I was just answering a quiz question. Over.
Guys, please be more mindful about your use of language. If this happens again, I'll have no choice but to inform the authorities. Coast Guard over and out.
Dear, someone's getting a bit antsy.
You can kind of see his point. Over?
Yes, agreed. Over.
Well, can't say I agree. Anyway, on with the quiz. Question 3. Crowning the May Queen, dancing around the maypole, and Morris dancing are most closely associated with which bank holiday? Remember, I need your name followed by the answer. Over. You've all gone very quiet. I thought you'd get this one. I'll repeat it in case there was any loss of sound. Question 3. Crowning the May Queen, dancing around the maypole, and Morris dancing are most closely associated with which bank holiday? Oh, come on, you all know this. Basically, what's the first bank holiday in May called?
Oh, come on, it's obvious. This is the Coast Guard. It's May Day, May Day, May Day.
This is the French Coast Guard, UK Coast Guard. Request your position, nature of distress, and number of people on board. Over.
Very good.
Mike and Phil join me now. Hello.
Hey, yeah.
All right.
Here we are again.
Mike, we'd like to start the Reject Pile podcast by hearing a little bit about the inspiration and the rejection story. So can you tell us that story for Ports Win Prizes, please?
Yeah, sure. It was help, basically, was the prompt from DMs Are Open. I put help into a word association thing on this page I use quite a lot, which I use for breaking the news as well. If there's sort of something in the story that I'm trying to find something not too obvious, but a sort of little bit away. I'll put a word in, a keyword in it, and then it'll give you loads of words. One of the words was Mayday, and that then triggered an idea straight away. Okay, what about, yeah. And then it sort of came from there, really.
Okay. And it was a submission to DMs Are Open.
Yes.
Which is a common story that we have on the Reject Pile. So I think rejection in that show is probably far more common than success.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. And interestingly, yeah, looking back at it, it wasn't always called Ports Win Prizes. It came to us as Coast Guard Blues.
Well, yeah, if you look at the actual thing, it said Coast Guard Blues, so I didn't realise there was a typo in it. And the one I sent to the BBC, which is,
Oh, really?
disgraceful. Yeah, I should have sent it to Guardian, shouldn't I? But, but apparently, I noticed this morning, I thought, oh, great, it says Coast Guard Blues. Brilliant. That's great. But yeah, it did. Because I think it was in one of Phil's notes was, the title, but DMs don't give it a title and they don't even preamble it. They literally just go straight into it. So they used to on Newsjack, they used to give you a little bit of a sort of, a thing about it and then kind of give it a name and go into it. But for DMs, they don't seem to. They just seem to go straight in, bang. So, yeah, I didn't actually, must admit, I didn't really give the title much thought.
I mean, do you ever, out of interest?
I think I have on some, because I think you always you try and do one that sort of maybe got a little pun in it or something in it that makes someone might read it and go, okay, and then you know what I mean. But yeah, I think with the DMs one, probably not as much. I've kind of just I think because I didn't want to give stuff away on some of them. I wanted to sort of leave it quite vague. So yeah,
I think you've kind of touched on a thing there that, oh yes, it's not what DMs ask for, but I think a title is useful to the writer, so it gives you a focus about what is the sketch about, and even if you're coming up with various ideas, you can just come up with titles for names of sketches. You don't have to write, but it'll give you a kernel or something that you can then explore. And if Coast Guard Blues, so if I'd seen that, I've thought, oh, okay, he's going to write about a depressed or maybe a singer who is, but none of that arrives in the sketch. So that was one of my notes, is the title didn't relate. and it's not necessarily just because DMs might see it and they might think, oh, that's a funny idea, and that is a valid reason, I think, personally. I mean, it's not going to sell the whole sketch, but if someone can immediately understand the concept of your sketch, they're much more likely to get on board with enjoying it. And then they'll, so I do think titles are important from a reader's point of view, even if it's not, broadcast. When you're doing any writing, I think it's so important to make sure that you know what it is that you're writing. Now, sometimes that doesn't materialize. You might write a draft and then you've written something completely different to the original title. Maybe you were going to write a blues thing. I don't know. But whatever you wrote, it then didn't relate to it. So it would have been useful, I think, for you to reread the sketch and go, what is this actual sketch about? And then you find your anchor after having written your first, vomit draft or whatever you want to call it. But that first draft of, I'm just going to get it out of my head and stick it on the page. Okay, what have I written? Is that? And then you can give that the title. And then when you do subsequent drafts, you know what it is you're trying to focus on. So yeah, it doesn't have to necessarily go in the order of title first, then sketch. Sometimes you'll do a title, sometimes you won't. But I do think having one is a good way of keeping it all together for the writer and for the audience who eventually read it.
And Phil, I think you were having a bit of fun with thinking of some naval-themed puns.
I did.
Well, you also just said there you've got to give it an anchor, and I thought, well, surely he's done that on
Yeah,
purpose.
yeah.
I let that one go. But
Hey!
I
thanks,
was
mate.
very. If you go back,
can't
you'll see a
help
little
it.
smirk.
No, genuinely, I am obviously a gag machine. I didn't even notice I was doing that one. But yes, I did suggest. I did suggest Ports win prizes because that's what you got. And it was okay. How many puns? It's a pun, and it refers to boats and stuff, and it's a game show. Like, great. And so I also suggested, this is for the listeners because I know, Mike, you know this, Sale of the Century. I'm sorry, I haven't a bow.
No,
That doesn't even work.
No, it's not
And
a good
then
one.
Hullseye, which also doesn't work. But I just no to anything like that. Just it's some kind of gag. And obviously, you liked Ports win prizes. So
Yeah. Can we also say you also put "Please make me stop" on the
did,
document
yes.
as well? And we did.
I could have done that all night, but they were getting progressively worse.
So, Mike, you sort of touched on it there. You did the word association and you linked the word help to Mayday. What happened then? Like, how did you go from that to what we have now?
I thought, it'd be quite funny if the answers to the questions are all terms that are used, and then it just it causes problems essentially. It's kind of one joke, but it does work kind of across the three bits. To be fair, so yeah.
I do think, it's a traditional comedy sketch setup. Is you have in the first few lines, you set up the situation, and then you basically do variants of the same joke, and so the audience understand where we're going. They like the inevitability of knowing what it's going to be, and it's just you've given them a bit of a surprise, but not so much of a surprise that it's not on topic.
Yeah.
And then you go boom, 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 and then you have then the last gag, when everybody's had enough of those sorts of jokes, will be the thing that then breaks the format and the punchline. That's the conventional sketch format. And so, I think you were kind of there. It's, like my notes were saying, it's a decent enough sketch. I do think that you were saying that, you were doing gags and things. I noticed in the earlier draft that some of the lines were neither gags nor setups. They were, and so have you done anything? I haven't heard, obviously, the new draft and the new version of it. So what did you do, or have you done anything to revise this to tighten it up? Or...
I think I did a little bit, yeah, absolutely. But I was going to say very quickly that normally the hardest bit is coming up with the outline, as in the what it finishes on. But this one, I knew exactly how I wanted it to end, so it makes a lovely change that I could build it to that rather than I've got everything and now I just need something to finish it, and I'm like struggling. And I think I've always had that problem with if you read some of my other sketches and ones that I've sent to sort of Newsjack and things, they're okay, but there's never really been it wasn't a good out. Whereas this one, I knew exactly how I wanted it to finish, so that was nice. So, and I think
that, like that's the dream, isn't it, Mike?
Yeah,
really?
yeah, because then it made it easy to move it to it. But also, I think from what Phil was just saying there, that there were probably, because what I mainly write is TV, 30-minute things. So I probably put exposition into a sketch that doesn't need it, and I do exactly the same on Breaking the News, that I put way too much information into the gag because I want to make sure that the person knows exactly what they need to know to get. And yeah, every time, as was on the one episode, that you don't need to, as long
Yeah.
as it's got the little bits that the payoff at the end you need to know, then it
Well,
works.
there's
So,
that.
yeah.
That makes me think of the Seinfeld quote about a punchline is leaping from. I'm mangling it. I seem to be doing that on this show. It's getting from one precipice to another,
Yeah.
jumping the chasm. It's got to be a big enough leap, but not so big that
Yes,
it's
exactly.
too big, and not so small that it doesn't work.
Yeah.
The other thing as well, a lot of writing, you've got the skill. There's a difference, I think, between sort of the art and the creativity, but then there's the craft. And the craft, I think, is the ability to say things concisely. And just how can I say, and this situation in far fewer words, can I
Yes.
cut it down? What can I cut? Cut. And what I would recommend you do is cut it till it breaks and then put one word back. It's that. And does the scene make sense without, just keep, what could you really cut without it make, and if you get to the point where it doesn't make sense, you've done one cut too many. But yeah, I felt that when I saw that original draft, that was one of the other issues with it. The other one as well. Now, can I just ask, you say you do other writing for other media, but it's not an audio media generally.
No, I mean, obviously, yeah, the sketches I've written have all been, almost all audio. So Newsjack and sort of, obviously DMs. But
the reason why I ask is because you had some homonyms based.
On the first
so
lot,
Stern Look and Tied Up and Ship Faced.
Careful.
And Ship Faced is, but the Stern Look and Tied Up, they are audio puns that it's quite difficult to appreciate them unless they're written down. I mean, you might just think that's just tied up. It's not TIDE.
Yeah, sure.
It's TIE. Just the audience has got to think about it a bit to go, oh, wait a minute, that was a pun on and stuff like that. And so I'm always a bit wary about puns, although Portsmouth prizes we get away with because the joke is fairly evident. But those ones, I just thought on radio, it's a bit trickier because you don't have the other version of it to compare with, if you see what I mean. So did you do anything about those?
Yeah, they went. So I just changed the names to actual person names.
Okay.
So just generic names, because then I thought, depending on who Luke's got as the cast, they could just be, they could be anyone effectively. They didn't have to be, because I think James Dockley mentioned this on one of the episodes, that when you're writing for DMs, sort of what the cast is going to be. It's going to be 3 females or 2 males, or 3 males, 2 females. So you're always worried about writing it gendered in case they think, oh, well, that's not going to work I kind of do it a bit where anyone could play anyone really on some of them. I mean, there are some where it'll need something a bit more specific. But for these, that's why I thought, well, you go with the name of the boat, then it doesn't matter who the captain is or whatever. It can be anyone. So I think, it was the same on that you were worried about having yourself ruled out immediately by getting the cast wrong. And you were always worried about having not enough people and not enough for someone to do, because you think, oh, it's really bad if one person's got one, unless it's an absolute killer line, great. But if you've got 5 people there, you were trying to give those 5 people something to say all the way through, kind of thing.
Well, that was my other thought as well. In the sketch, you've got 3 boats and therefore 3 people who aren't sufficiently different. So I couldn't really understand from a sketch point of view why it couldn't be one contestant.
Yeah, I think because I imagined it as a sort of a quiz that a load of people were doing, and then if you only hear from one person, I just didn't think it would work as well. But it's one of those. It was a bit difficult on that one. Yeah.
I mean, you could have it as, what's it called? Do you want to be a millionaire? They've only got one.
Yeah.
There are quiz formats that don't have lots of people, and because there was no comedy element really, apart from maybe I think there was some Roger gag, and I don't know if you kept that one.
No. Yeah, I did. Sorry, I liked it. And it's it's not an homage to Airplane or anything. It was just I didn't go too mad on it, but I did kind of keep it in a little bit.
I think that was the only reason to have multiple people, and I thought you've given yourself. Therefore, it's another one of these things of conciseness. Do you need this for it to work? No, you don't need extra people, so don't have the extra people.
The main reason for the extra people was because I thought it'd be bad if the Coast Guard was telling the same person that they're making this mistake. I think he'd get more annoyed. So that's why I wanted it to be someone different for that, sort of to land a bit better, potentially.
But I suppose that then actually nicely ties up to my other note. I think it would be better if they did get more annoyed. I
Okay,
think
fair enough.
to
Yeah.
get some kind of escalation, you get a bit more oomph if the person's getting annoyed,
Sure,
and
that's
they're
true, yeah.
still not getting anywhere, and then it builds up to the punchline. Any sketch, I think, as we said before about the traditional thing, you've got a character who wants something and something's getting in the way. I mean, that's just drama, typical drama structure. And if someone wants something, what is it they want? Okay, what's getting in their way? What are they going to do about it? And it's got to be that back and forth frustration that a lot of comedy sketches are. It's normally straight person with an idiot, and the straight person wants to get some sensible stuff, and you've got an idiot who is not giving them the sensible, and that will then cause irritation and frustration. So yeah, I think that to just adjust it a bit, you've got too many contestants for no really good reason, and the Coast Guard doesn't get as frustrated as they might do, and that could have heightened it a wee bit.
Like that,
but
yeah.
I hadn't heard the final version, so you may well have found ways to improve it in other ways beyond my notes. If that's not a really good segue, Luke, I don't know what is.
Yeah, I'm hopeful that on hearing this, some of what we've just been talking about is going to be addressed.
Right, sea lovers, it's time for the Yacht Club's annual quiz, which this year we have had the rather excellent title suggestion of Ports Win Prizes. You've all gone very quiet. I thought you'd get this one. I'll repeat it in case there was any loss of sound. Question 3. Crowning the May Queen, dancing around the maypole, and Morris dancing are most closely associated with which bank holiday? Oh, come on, you all know this. Basically, what's the first bank holiday in May called?
Oh, come on, it's obvious. This is the Coast Guard. It's May Day, May Day, May Day.
This is the French Coast Guard, UK Coast Guard. Request your position, nature of distress, and number of people on board. Over.
Very good.
Mike, do you want to go first? What are your reflections?
I really, really enjoyed that. Yeah, just seeing how it came together and just, that was great. Thank you.
Good. Oh, I'm really pleased to hear that. And Phil, what thoughts have you got? And maybe tying back to some of the things we were talking about before.
Yeah, I mean, some of the things are still in there. But I want to focus on the positive. I think it was very nicely performed. I think it did help bring it to life. And I'm going to say the note I always say: get your mates to perform your sketches if you can, or send them into the show because we'll perform them. It's really useful, and as I think you've seen, it's no longer just words on a page. Now that was one that for me, there's two things that for me stood out in that. And this is additional notes, and it probably would have applied to the script I read as well. I feel that there's not enough at stake. I mean, it's cute. It's a lovely situation that people on boats having this little annual quiz. But if they don't answer, so what? I want to know what they can win. I want to know if there's just, to sort of escalate the stakes a bit so that when they don't answer, they're kind of pressured into doing it or somebody, and then we get the same. I mean, but the punchline and everything lands very nicely.
There was a real subtle change for that between version 1 and version 2 that came off the back of one of your notes, Phil, and that was just to flesh out that line a little bit. So the Coast Guard goes, come on, guys, it's obvious.
Yeah.
Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. And whereas I think your first draft, Mike, it was just straight in with it's Mayday.
It's Coast Guard, Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I think
I like that.
And just because, just a little bit more energy. But it's a lovely payoff. I think what the other note I did give, but I want to see how it was performed before I heard it, is that you could make more of the quiz in some context, just to make it more quizzy. At the moment, it seems a bit cute. It's just like mates having quizzes over the radio. And it's just
it's pub quizzy basically at the moment.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah.
Well, I was kind of thinking you could actually make it into a big deal so that if they win, there is something, and there's music, and there's somebody who's being a quiz master and really taking it seriously, just to make it a bit more lively, and it sort of raises the stakes a little bit. So there is something if they win, and there's and because it says ports win prizes, but I'm not hearing about any prizes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
That was on page 5. Sorry, that got cut.
I want to give a shout out to your expert use of sound effects as a punchline, as a gag as well. Like the pregnant pause with the radio
crackle, yeah.
crackle. It's just so funny. It
Good.
gets me.
Yeah, no, that is good. No.
I like that.
Yeah, it did also, the one thing that I do like about it, I mean, one of the things I like about it, it does use the audio medium. You've got radio effects, you've got it creates a world through voices and situation, and we get there very quickly. So it's a very efficient sketch, although there are still bits that I would cut that you think they're neither jokes nor setup.
Can I pick up on that, Phil? Because that's one of the things I wanted to explore was, obviously I've listened to this quite a lot as I've been editing it, and there's repetition, and I want to explore how deliberate that is as a comic device, or if it's it's not, and it's sort of it's a byproduct of that. But it's just the Coast Guard is repeating the same thing, like the same warning to both contestants. And
those were actual words that they use. So I got that from, I think it was Wikipedia or something. There's an article about it. I was reading about it, and those are the words that they, so it was actually lifted. It was direct text lifted, which is why they repeat them. Because I thought, well, if they're on the radio all day and people are, I'm sure they have to say that kind of stuff all the time. And I thought it would be, funny that it's the same thing.
Well, my note on that is that I don't think those lines are getting a laugh.
No, sure.
How we feel about that?
Yeah, that's fair.
Do we just accept them because it's grounding it in a reality versus? And Phil, I'm sure you've got a view on that. Like they're earning their place because of the world, but they're not earning their place for the comedy.
Yeah,
and I'm going to say a note that don't let the truth get in the way of gag.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be accurate. Nobody in the audience is going to go, actually, they would have said this particular line. And, if they do, fair enough, but they're not going to be the majority of the audience, I hope, unless you're going to play this to a bunch of people who are Coast Guards. Know your audience, basically. And I think the audience don't know the accuracy. Yeah, you can have a look at it and go, I could work with something. But I think there's also what you're saying about the repetition, Luke. I think if it had been the same person who'd done who had, despite being given a warning, then does another thing, it raises the stakes for them, and the person can be deliberately, more annoyed with them because it is they've been warned and they've done it again anyway, and so that could get them into serious trouble, and so it escalates the stakes. But because you chose to have multiples, it's a repeated straight warning, and so there's no potential for comedy in the irritation of the Coast Guard having already given person that said warning.
And just a couple of others as well. When the quiz contestants are being reprimanded, they repeat their justification. And I think on one occasion it's funny. It's the was quoting an ABBA song. And that's funny. That gets a laugh. And then the second one doesn't quite land. Mike, I mean, was that something you were deliberately going forward with the repetition there to try and get an extra laugh out of it? Or?
Yeah, I think it was just more the sort of the people that were giving the answers were a bit sort of incredulous that, well, it's really obvious that I'm not in distress. Yeah, I suppose, but perhaps, probably could have had, because I like that, the ABBA one, obviously I quite like. And then, maybe I needed a bit more for the
it works on the first one, maybe not the second one, do something
maybe
different.
There's not enough there. That's a good point.
And it actually brings me on to another note that I had, is that you've got stuff that isn't particularly funny, that is neither set up nor, so it's like reaction stuff. And that's similar to the Coast Guard things. And it's the lines, well, someone's getting a bit antsy.
Mm-hmm.
You can kind of see his point. Can you?
Yeah.
I don't really see how. This isn't useful material. It's neither funny nor set up. So they could have all gone. And in fact,
it's just conversation, isn't it? It's that sort of realism, and it can.
Again, in my head, that was sort of the quizmaster was a bit like they kind of know what they're like. And so they're what's their problem kind of thing, whereas the other boats were like, well, look what you're doing. It's your fault that we're getting into this bother. So but maybe that didn't come across enough. And you're right. Maybe they needed to be out of what's it. Yeah.
I mean, if you wanted to make it's the quizmaster's fault, then have them be more confrontational, and then you've got a joke out of it. But at the moment, it just seems a bit chatty. And on the flip side, if you have the Coast Guard, it's the second time. So the Coast Guard's come back. It's now should be more annoyed. It would be funnier if the quizmaster completely ignored that and just went, anyway, on with the quiz. And so you've got that someone be really annoyed and then they do nothing about it.
Yeah, yeah.
But instead, you've got these lines that just fizzle. Just
Sure.
yeah. So
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, that could have been in the reading and the performance, but yeah, I think that sort of subtext that you were getting at there, Mike, it didn't come across to me.
No, that's fair. Yeah.
It could be 6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
I wouldn't recommend subtext in a sketch generally.
No, fair.
Subtext is for cowards, I've heard said. Say what you bloody mean. You haven't got time. I can't remember who said subtext is for cowards. It's not my own line, but it is something I have seen. I'm going to Google it. Well, Gus Marenghi is the one who mentioned it.
That's the one that comes up on the top one, but I'm pretty sure I
Yeah.
remember that.
No, I think it is.
Is it just him who says it?
Oh, wow. That's the main one that's
Gus
come up.
Marenghi is a
Yeah.
comedy character. He's not even a real person.
Matthew Holness, then in that case, we can go with.
Yeah, we'll credit Matthew Holness
Okay,
with it.
right. So, anyway, yeah, so this brings up to the whole, yes, the subtext is for cowards thing, which I believe that was it Gus Marenghi. But it's true. I think if you're going to say something, just bloody say it, especially
Yeah,
in
fair.
a sketch where you've got 3 pages and people are not going to really, they're not there to sit there and analyse it and think it through and,
Yeah.
think about it at all. It's got to be joke, 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 joke.
What that finished version has come out at 4 minutes. So it does illustrate that we've probably got a little bit of fat that we can trim.
Yeah, I wondered on that because it sort of, it doesn't feel like it's a lot, but then because there's pauses which are needed and because when I did it myself, I thought, oh man, that pause is massive. And then I listened to it and the pause isn't that big. It just feels, because it's dead air, it just feels it. But I was going to ask this question on, because obviously with the DMs are open one, kind of 3 minutes absolute maximum, I think we were looking at. But with Saturday Night Live starting now, it's interesting that they go completely the other way. And I understand why they do it, because they've got, sets to use them.
Yeah,
and
they need to
people,
fill.
they need a bit more time to set up the next one, because their sketches, they're probably twice the length they need to be. I'm still really enjoying it. I think it's been brilliant. But yeah, I just think their sketches are quite long.
But as is Saturday Night Live in the US as well. It's got
Yeah. They're all good 6
somewhat,
to 8 minute.
They're quite
sketches
bloated,
where
I
they
think,
need
sometimes.
to be, where they could do a 3 minute and be in and out. But I understand exactly why they're doing it. I must admit, when I was listening to it, I thought, oh, is this too long? Yeah. And
You mean the sketch as
yeah,
a
it
whole?
has. Yeah, my sketch. Yeah, perhaps there is another 40 seconds that can be cut without
I think,
losing anything really.
yeah, I think it's just drawing these things together. We're being, I think generally we can say we enjoyed that sketch and it's got a good structure and it's got a good punchline. It's nice stuff. What to do next with it? Trim it ever so slightly, make it a little bit leaner. Probably bring the time down as well. I think that's probably what
absolutely.
what we're talking about, isn't it?
Yeah.
My only other note on it, of course, is it is very conventional. I can imagine DM saw it and went, "Yep, it doesn't do anything that is crazy. And it's cute, it's sweet, and those such sketches do serve their function. But I just think for a show like DMs, I think they might want something that's a bit more punchy and a bit less.
Yeah.
This could have been written, I don't know, 30, 40 years ago without any real change, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, that's absolutely fair, because that is where my brain is for when I'm writing stuff. It is, grew up listening to Radio 2, listening to Radio 4, so I love that kind of comedy. Therefore, I am trying to write, if I could write for anyone, it would have been Morecambe and Wise or something like that. Not that I'd be good enough, but, that's the kind of thing that, so probably this probably wasn't right for DMs, because it's too old fashioned for want of a better phrase. But yeah, in my head, that's how radio sort of sketches sound, I suppose. Yeah.
A lot of what we've just been talking about the tone and the edginess or lack thereof resonates with me, because as Phil knows, one of my projects of the last few years has been to work with a traditional sketch comedy double act. And that was a real fortuitous meeting. I just sort of met them in a local open mic. And I was like, I've got some unused sketches. These guys perform sketches. Maybe we could do something. And that's been a brilliant experience, having people to work, like you were saying about Morecambe and Wise. It's almost been like that's been my own experience of writing for people. And this we talk about this quite a lot. While DMs might have been the prompt for this sketch, that it doesn't have to be the end of the road. There's always value, I think, in looking out for other performers and submitting this to a sketch group, maybe there is a little bit more of that traditional
Yeah.
vibe. They'll have their audience, and if it's a good match for your voice.
Well, that's it. I think hearing it performed, by proper people, it just, like Phil said earlier, it just lifts it. And you're like, oh yeah, okay. So it's not, you actually think it's not that bad. It's all right, because you can hear it with, it just gives it such a different take on it, doesn't it? Because you hear it in your head and you hear it one way, but then when you actually put it to someone that can do voices, can do different things, and you think, wow, yeah, they've done that with it. That's good. I like that. I probably wouldn't have thought of that, because that's not how I act or whatever. But I've got a sketch that I sent to Newsjack a long time ago, and it was to do with Liam and Ringo, and I love it, and I think it's really funny. So I really should try and find someone that can do those two voices just to perform, even if it's only me that ever hears it. I don't care. But I'd love to hear it done by those people, or people that can do a sort of decent version of those. And it might not work, but I think it would. But yeah, so maybe that's it. You're right. Maybe I need to, some of these things, if they are a bit more traditional or a bit more not quite right for that, they might be right for something else. And that I need to find my people, basically.
Yeah, especially, I'm assuming you're not a performer.
No, I mean, I am a kind of frustrated performer, but I couldn't actually do it in front of people. So the one I sent you took me ages to do, because it was just, even if it's just me alone in the flat, I was still like so cringing at myself trying to read these lines and try and do them in different voices, and my face was like a ridiculous shade of red for about a half hour it took me to do it. So I have done some and I've done bits, and I'm pretty sure that if I had a bit more confidence I probably could do a little bit, but no, not really.
Well, the point I was making is that you don't have to be, go out and find them, and as you said, find your people. It is good to have that outlet for your material without having to be the one who puts themselves out there as the performer. So
and then hearing someone do
a recommendation.
No, it's great. And again, when you hear it, you're like, oh, okay, right, that bit didn't work, so I need to rewrite that line or whatever. It does make a massive difference, because you just reading on the page, you think, yeah, that's okay, it's okay. But then when you hear it, and I suppose it's the same when you're in front of an audience, if you hear it read out to an audience and they're not laughing at that one point, you're like, right, okay, so I need to tweak that line. And then, it's really interesting for that.
Yeah, and we've spoken about that before on the podcast as well, the immediacy of that feedback loop, where if you're doing stand-up or, as we were just saying, if you've got people performing it in front of an audience, there is no substitute for that.
Go to open mic nights and things like that. I mean, I met you at you doing your
with those guys.
Exactly, and I gave notes. Of course I did, and I haven't stopped. So, I think that's what those events are for, is so that people can get feedback. And they're scratch nights, weren't they? That's all that they did. So go to scratch nights where they do comedy sketches and see if they're willing to, have a chat afterwards.
Yeah,
maybe even and go from there. I think it's a really good way to meet people.
I'd would never have thought about it. I think it's brilliant. Yeah,
and eventually you might set up a podcast with them. I don't know.
No, I mean, seriously, like that. There's those few experiences of turning around to those guys and saying, "You perform, I write. Why don't we have a conversation?" And then meeting Phil that night.
They need material, don't they? So
absolutely.
Yeah.
But they're two good examples of me just having that little moment of Dutch courage to do a bit of networking, and they've both led to things that have been really fulfilling and rewarding.
That's the hard bit, because that's quite difficult for me.
I understood.
I need someone to come over to me like you did. It's much easier. If you come to me, that's great. That's
but
fine,
they don't know. They're the ones who are on stage. They don't know that you're the writer.
Different. Yeah, that's
the
true.
thing.
Okay, I suppose I'll have a whiskey or something. I'll be fine.
That would help.
I may have mentioned this before, but part of the job of being a writer is you've got to be your own agent. As much as writers love just sitting at home, tapping away, making themselves laugh with a thing, and then one day hopefully getting paid for it, that's not really the reality. The reality is you've got to get out there and meet people. You've got to be able to sell yourself and sell, and then eventually you'll get some momentum, whether that's emailing producers of radio shows or going to networking events or going to scratch nights. At some point along the lines, you've got to be working with people if you actually want to make a living out of it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, I have done it. It was actually came up on the the Facebook memories thing. Yes, 7 years ago yesterday, we were in London in a production meeting. Talking about a script that we'd written, me and two other guys, and that is still one of the most surreal moments of my life, because just being there, in this massive office thing, and it's just talking about something we'd written, and nothing came of it, unfortunately. But it was still an amazing experience and things like that. And that came from us sending the script out to 10 or 12 different agencies, saying, "Look, we know you don't take unsolicited script, targeting the people." And yeah, we had with 3 of them actually came back to us, and that we had the meeting with the one, and yeah, it was mad, and yeah, I'd quite like to do that again, but for it to go a little bit further, yeah, to do that, you've got to put yourself out there. You're right.
Absolutely.
And what's stopping you? What is stopping?
Me.
Yeah, it's often the case.
Yeah.
I mean, I can be as bad as anybody, but it's just I know that is a thing. It's a demon you've got to face.
Yeah.
It isn't just a case of writing. There's the whole other side of it that is often not talked about and not glamorized in the way that being a writer is this, this person who creates great work and then gets recognized. Yeah, but that doesn't happen until people actually start looking and talking to you. Eventually, you might get an agent and they will help you, but you've got to be able to have that level of momentum and material and confidence in yourself to be able to pitch yourself to an agent as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's tough and it's not fun. No, I mean, we'd much rather sit there writing sketches and making ourselves laugh. But it is the reality, unfortunately.
Yeah, but do you know what? I dispute that, because just to this whole story that I've been telling, that's been the best part of the work that I've done over the last few years, is collaborating with other people and getting it performed. That's far more fulfilling and rewarding than working, writing these spec scripts and sending them in and getting nothing back.
Because you're seeing it, it's there. Whereas the other thing would take, you're looking at 2 years, absolute minimum, before you saw anything. Whereas, if you can do a sketch and then next week you see it on stage, that must be amazing. That must be incredible. Yeah.
I personally like the collaboration more than anything. I struggle to write on my own, but when Luke and I did DMs, I was much rather collaborate with you and we come up with sketches and stuff. But just to do it on my own, I find that so hard. So sometimes collaboration just can get you going, and you've got like you're accountable, and there's a bit of accountability.
Well, that's exactly it.
And these shows are good for that as well. So I think everybody has a prolific 6 weeks when DMs is on, and breaking the news as well.
Breaking news 10 weeks.
They're, as much as the rejection and the not hearing is frustrating and difficult, it is still a prompt and an excuse to get into that habit.
But what Phil just said there, that would, if I was working with someone, I would absolutely, because at the moment what I do is I give myself an hour on a Tuesday, an hour on a Wednesday. If I don't come up with anything, then that's it. Whereas before I would have sat there for 3 or 4 hours every night trying and just, coming up with one thing. But if I was working with another writer, then you don't want to let that person down. So you would absolutely be, because I did a course once with Becca Bain and Alex Wright. And I didn't realize during it, they'd be like, right, you've got to come up with this idea. And I was like, oh, God. And he had like about 5 minutes to come up with a sketch idea. And I thought, but it was amazing being under that pressure that something came out that was sort of okay. But I just, for the first 2 minutes, my brain just completely walked off for a second. I went, no, I can't help it. And then it came back in. And and I was like, well, what? I've got to come up with. And then thankfully, an idea hit. And I thought, well, and that's the kind of thing I probably need. Working with someone else, because when I worked with the other 2 guys we wrote 6 episodes of a program, and they wrote the whole thing, and then we sent episode 1 and episode 5 to the production companies, and that was brilliant. I mean, that took obviously a long time, but and then we've written a couple since then, and and it's I do work much better like that, because it's so much sometimes it's a bit frustrating because you think that joke should be in it, but when there's 3 of you, it's 2 versus 1. So that's how it worked. But then you just use that somewhere else. But I think I definitely would work a lot better with someone else, because it is really, really hard on your own. And the couple of people that I've read over one of the scripts I made, gave me notes, have been brilliant, and they've looked at it from a completely different angle, given you some great ideas, and you think, oh wow, And so, you need that, I think. So, I'd if people are listening and want, have read anything that I've done and think they could write with me, then operators are standing by.
I just want to add on to that even if you're a writer and you don't want to collaborate, say, I don't know what it is, but you can't get yourself into that groove. I'm, the whole neurodivergent thing, body doubling is a thing. And I don't know if either of you know about this. But it's essentially, it's a tool that helps ADHD people. And essentially, you have somebody in the room with you. That's it. They don't have to engage with what you're doing. They don't have to talk to you or anything, but they're doing their thing.
Yeah.
And it somehow short circuits oh, hang on, they're working, so I should be. So, for
Interesting.
example, I go to the library if I want to really, really focus. When I did my dissertation for my master's, I didn't want. I went to the library up the road, and there's all these people sitting there tapping away, and my brain goes, "Well, I better be tapping as well, so I better be working." And so, what I'm currently doing, I've got this film of the play that I've been putting off and not working on for ages. Now I've got somebody who I spend 2 hours with twice a week. They're doing their work, and this is a Zoom thing. And at the end of the 2 hours, my brain goes, "Do you want to? I want to have something to be able to show them." And so I can go, "Would you like to look at the minute or 30 seconds of editing that I have done?"
Yeah.
And they go, "Yes." And so they're not engaged in the creativity. They're not engaged in the activity that I'm doing. They're doing something completely different. It's just some human thing that helps you just keep going.
I think it's called an accountability partner. Is that?
Well, that's another way.
An expression? Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's just somebody there that they're working and you're working, a study buddy if you're at university, that sort of thing. But it is just, if they're working and you're working, it just means you're doing it. And I know that being a writer, it can be quite, socially isolating because a lot of it is done on your own. And this is a really good shortcut to sort of stop all that kind of feeling of, oh, it doesn't matter, it's only me, blah, blah, blah. If you book a time to be with somebody and you're both going to work, you don't want to let the other person down just in terms of, I'm going to do some work. And whether that's nowadays we can do it over online with the Zoom things, or you can go and meet them in a cafe and it's not there for social, it's not there to chat. In fact, it's very hard if you are quite chatty, to sit there chatting with them and oh no, hang on, I'm supposed to be working. So you don't. So the idea is it's a work appointment. It's like having a meeting. And I want to just mention this because it's a similar sort of thing. If you don't want to collaborate, but you just want to do the work and you're finding it hard, that's a good way to get around it. And I've used that technique a fair bit.
Yeah, I like it.
Where I struggled.
Thanks, Phil.
It's all right.
Mike, what we've been doing the last few episodes is asking about our guests' relationship with rejection. How do you respond to rejection?
Awful. No, not really. Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? Sometimes, but because especially when because fair enough. There's sometimes I'll read because I'll write the joke as say breaking the news. I'll write the jokes Tuesday and Wednesday, and then I'll go into Claire on a Wednesday night. And go, I've just written an absolute belting joke. It's great, and then I'll read it on Thursday morning. Thinking it's not that good. So, and then when it's not on Friday, you're like, oh, fair enough. But then occasionally you also get one. You think, oh, that was perfect for their show. I don't understand why. But we also know there are so many variables. There's so many different things that can stop it from being in. And I find it really hard. But also, I think if I'm honest with myself, I know when something's not quite good enough. But even I'm like, so if there was something I was like 100% behind and gone, do you know what? I've done everything I can for that. That should be. Then I think I'd be a bit more annoyed for it not to get anywhere. But also understanding that nothing's being made at the moment. It's kind of very hard to get anything anywhere anyway. But yeah, I mean, I'm okay with it. I think you have to be okay with it because 99% of what you do is rejected. So you just got to, and I forget sometimes that, I've had some nice wins. I got a sketch on Newsjack, which I never thought I would. I've had enough episodes of Breaking the News now, a decent amount. I had something on The Skewer, which was very nice of John Holmes because he didn't have to give it me because someone else sent in the same idea that week, but he still gave me the credit, which is very lovely of him. And the money, which is even more lovely of him. But yeah, and just hearing my name on Radio 4 was just incredible. If John Naismith's listening, if you get me a credit on, I'm sorry, I have no clue, then that would make, that I could retire then. That'd be great. Because that is what I would love. If I could write for absolutely anything, that would be it. And
finally, what are some of the other things that you're working on, and where can listeners keep up with you and the work that you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, I don't write enough. That's the problem, and I think that comes down to what Phil was saying about when you're on your own. But yeah, so I think if I had the person in the room or a collaborator, then I would get a lot more done. Because absolutely, I don't want to let anyone down. So I want to make sure that if I'm working with someone, then I'm going to plumbing work. So I've got so many things on the go that that have sort of started, never finished, and I keep reading about people saying just finish something, just finish. And I think, yeah, but is it ever finished? So I've got the main thing I'm working on at the moment is sort of a Christmas film. Basically, it could be a book, it could be a film, it could be anything. But I think I'm writing it as a film, which again I've not done enough on it yet. I think I've only done the sort of first few pages, but I have got it all sort of mapped out with how I want it to go and things like that. I've still got a couple of sort of 30-minute comedy drama type things bubbling away in various states. I've got a radio thing in various states. Everything is in various states, and the state is not finished on all of them. So it's just, I think I need to, I'm hoping the guys that we wrote the scripts with, they've just, one of them's been off and had kids and all that kind of stuff. So he's not really had the time to spend with us, but now they're a bit older and he can probably give us a couple of hours every week. So I'm hoping soon we'll get back together and just try something new, because it worked really well. We worked really well as a team of three, and, we had that meeting, we had other scripts that sort of people liked. So it'd be nice to kind of get one. And we keep talking about writing a film, so maybe we'll do that at some point.
Did you put stuff into competitions as a trio?
I don't think we just sent it straight to production companies.
Yeah.
We thought, forget the competitions, we'll just go straight to but yeah, so maybe we should have.
Maybe it's another route, isn't it? Like,
absolutely,
you rekindle the partnership.
The problem is with the competitions, it's only two. So if there's three of you, you can only put two names on it. It's really weird.
Okay.
Yeah. So, although to be fair, it was their story, so I would have been so
you'd have been.
I'd have sacrificed myself, and then when it was made, I'd have made sure my name was on it. But that's fine.
You're pretty active on social media as well, Mike. Where can people follow you?
Yeah. I'm on Blue Sky at MikeCooperRP.bsky.social. I'm on Instagram, but that's not really, I do it so basically when I go away once a year, I sort of put, I've got Instagram, so I put a load of holiday photos up and the occasional thing on there, but this is the same name, at Mike Cooper RP. If you want to watch some films that we made when we were 16, so in 1992 onwards in Kidderminster, you can go to regulatepictures.co.uk and be appalled at how bad some of them are. And yet some of them are all right. They're okay. You look back at them now and you think no one was doing that then. I know you can do it now. It's okay, sorry. Hardly anyone was doing that back then, really.
I had a similar film from 1992 that I made.
Brilliant.
That I haven't uploaded it anywhere. My brother said, we should stick it on YouTube at some point.
Yeah.
I still haven't.
Okay.
It's called Future Killer, and it's a sort of Terminator-based parody.
All of ours were homages. I mean, there's still lines now that I didn't realise at the time that we used, and then I'll be watching a film from the 80s and think, hang on, that's exactly what I say in that film. So they were all short films, but fine. When we've been saying for years, we need to digitise them, finally one of the guys did it last year. We put them all onto memory sticks, and now they're all on YouTube as well in decent quality. So they're worth a look. They don't take too long to watch.
I might do that.
You should do it. Yeah, that'd be great.
I've got to dig it out. I mean, I when I was at uni, I stuck them all from VHS, because they were on VHS.
Yeah,
obviously.
these were all VHS, yeah.
And then I got them onto DVD, and then I now need to get them from DVD onto YouTube. And I don't even know where the DVDs are now. They're in a cupboard somewhere. But one day, maybe. I don't know. They are.
I think a special episode of that. I think that'd be good. We can send you notes.
Yeah, that would turn the tables.
Get our own back.
That's not fair.
That, funnily enough, the conversation you've both just had there has made me think. A conversation that I often have with Phil is about his high WIP, I call it, work in progress, stuff he's started and not finished. And Mike, I feel like maybe you're in the same boat.
My WIP's ridiculous. Hope Claire's not heard that in the other room.
What kind of podcast is this? I'm definitely, my alter ego, my real world 9-to-5 persona would be advocating that you guys have got to be finishing what you've started rather than starting.
I don't do that at work. I get stuff done. Yeah, it's just it's terrible at home. Yeah, for that kind of thing. Yeah.
I mean, it is work that gets in the way of mine. To be fair.
Yeah.
I promised myself last year I was going to make lots of things, and instead I worked on 6 TV shows and a feature film, which
that does still sound like quite a lot of things.
That sounds all right. Yeah. I watched 6 TV shows.
So financially better off, but creatively not what I wanted to do.
Yeah. Well, I think all that remains to be said is thank you, Mike, for joining us in the reject pile and sending Coast Guard Blues and then latterly Portswind prizes in. Thanks, Phil, as ever, for the notes, feedback, and discussion. This has been The Reject Pile. I've been Luke Edwards. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.